Okay, let's go ahead and get these tables finished up. We need to fill in the axle rotations, which will be right here. And of course, that's going to let us go ahead and fill in our distance table down here at the bottom, which is ultimately what we're looking to do. So rotations, as we talked in an earlier video, we said that rotations is equal to string length divided by axle circumference. So our string length is listed right here in our independent data table. It's 3.5 inches. So we are going to, since we're using a formula, of course, we're going to start with equals. Now, if we type 3.5 and we divide that by our axle circumference, which is found right here, right next to it, the axle circumference of the 1/8 inch axle is 0.39. We press return. That gives us this answer of 8.9171974452. That's correct, okay? And that would allow us to drag this down, and those are all correct. And I could decrease my decimal point to 2, and we end up with 8.92, 5.94, and 4.46. That would work, except that does not allow us to come up here and change our independent data table. One of the things that we've been working toward is to have the ability to change any of our independent data and have it reflected in the other tables. So for example, now if I double that and change that to 7 and I press return, all of those numbers there should have doubled, but they didn't. So this formula is not correct. So let's go ahead. I'm going to change that back to 3.5. And I'm going to come here. I'm going to delete these. And I'm going to change the formula. And as some of you might have figured out, that we shouldn't type 3.5. We should use cell B4. That way the formula is always using cell B4. We divide that by the cell next to it, which is D17. We press return, and there's my answer of 8.92. So now I drag that down, and I'm getting answers of 0. The problem here is that by default, spreadsheets use something called relative addressing. So what they do is when I'm going to go ahead and delete these. Okay. When I type this formula of B4 divided by D17, the way that a spreadsheet works is what it does is it finds B4 relative to the location of this cell where you're placing the formula. So I place the formula in cell E17. Well, relative to E17, B4 is located 1, 2, 3 columns to the left, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rows up. So what happens here is that when I drag this down and I copy this down, cell E18 is going to look 1, 2, 3 rows over, 13 rows up, there's nothing there. So 0 divided by anything is 0. And the same thing happens here. 3 rows over, 13 rows up, nothing. So words divided by a number is nothing. So what we have to do is we have to make, and again I'm going to go ahead and delete those, in our formula we have to make B4 a permanent address so that this cell always goes to whatever is in B4. And the way that we're going to do that, we're going to place a $sign in between the B and the 4. So now we have B $4 divided by D17, so it's going to take 3.5 divided by 0.39 and give us 8.92. However, now when I drag it down, I'm going to get my answers because it's always, if we look here now, it's always using B4 because I put that $sign in there. That $sign make the address permanent. And of course, this one would be B4 divided by D19. So that worked. Now, the reason we wanted to do that is because if we double this, so if we make that 7 and we press return, our rotations double, which would make sense. We have twice as much string to wrap around the axle now. So that's why we couldn't use 3.5 in the formula itself. We had to use B4 so that we could change it and our numbers stay relevant. Okay, so all that said, to fill in this cell, it's a matter of setting this cell equal to our string length, which is 3.5, but we always want to use it, so we're going to put a $sign in there, divided by, and careful here, don't put times, we've kind of gotten used to using the times, it's divided by, which is the slash, divided by the circumference of this axle, which is D17. We press return, we drag it down, and you can increase or decrease your decimal points. Decrease them to 2 decimal points. Okay. In the next video, we're going to talk about placing the axle sizes and wheel sizes into the table. And then finally, we're going to finish up with the distances.